Topic of this video is going to be how stock market and YouTube grifters are quietly panicking right now because the stock market has sold off about 15-20% in the last couple of weeks, triggered by Trump's tariff actions. But the grifters, the scum, the liars, the frauds, the degenerates are losing way more money than you could possibly imagine. And nothing hurts a grifter more than massively underperforming the stock market. And I suspect, as a matter of fact, I know that a lot of the frauds out there that you follow, that you believe in, that you trust in, that you take your daily financial advice from, they're getting absolutely obliterated right now. They're getting destroyed behind the scenes. So of course they're going to hide that they're losing. They're going to hide that they're failures. They're going to hide all of their losses because a grifter is a disgusting, money-addicted scoundrel scum that only cares about extracting wealth from their fans. They don't care about anything else. They have no convictions. They jumped onto the investing scene because it makes them a lot of money. And now you're seeing the consequences of that, where these people who were such geniuses in a bull market are getting exterminated and getting exterminated extremely quickly. You're seeing them fall one by one like absolute clowns and dominoes that they are. Because these people have always been frauds. And I tried to warn you people, that in any kind of bear market, which we're in, at least with QQQ, any bear market will absolutely crush these clowns. We already had a somewhat bearish market back in 2022. And the grifters were almost defeated utterly. And then they got bailed out by AI. AI, my hot guy. All these clowns are on the verge of bankruptcy, on the verge of deleting their YouTube channels forever. Got saved by AI. But there is a problem. There is a big, big problem. There is a potential war looming with China. I've already talked about this in my videos. And before I thought, at some point we would go to war with them. I didn't really know when. But the recent actions of the Trump administration have really told me that a war with China might be a lot closer than you might think. And there's going to be some serious repercussions. Let me put this down, okay? Watch this, guys. You like that? Oh, I didn't work it out. Ooh. Okay, we're going to have some ramen. We're going to have ramen. And then I'm going to put chicken in it, okay? So let me go ahead and fill this up. So, as you know, and I've mentioned this in other videos, like I said today, Trump placed an additional 34% tariff on China. He just made up a random number, basically. He looked at the trade deficit and used some stupid formula to determine the tariff that he was going to place on China. And so it was 34%. And of course, China retaliates because, when you're a pretty big boy on the block, you have the firepower to retaliate. So China retaliated and put a 34% tariff on U.S. products. And then Trump, because, he's a typical Amerifat, thinks he's the king of the world. He says, well, if China's going to retaliate to the tariff war that I started, well, I'm going to put an additional 50% tariff. Boom, boom, boom. Tariff, 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 tariff. And of course, I have a suspicion when these tariffs go into effect at midnight, guess what? China's going to retaliate again. They're going to keep retaliating. They're going to go down to the bitter end because their pride is at stake. And Trump's pride is at stake. And where do you think this leads, people? It leads to war. It leads to a hot war. It starts with a trade war, and then it leads to an actual war. All right, let me fill this up, put some water in this. And then we'll go into how this affects the grifters. So, of course, the grifters, like I said, were completely bailed out by AI. We can go through a couple of them. First of all, Jeremy Lefebvre, okay? Jeremy's my number one rival on YouTube. I utterly destroyed him when all of his stocks collapsed. He was in Tattooed Chef. He was in Voyager. He was in Smile Direct Club. He was in all these garbage companies. And I knew that we were in a clown market and that his investments would eventually fail. And they did. They failed spectacularly. I crushed him utterly. I made him my little bussy boy. And right in his darkest moment, when his empire was collapsing around him, all of a sudden the AI thing became a thing. AI. And Jeremy basically reset his portfolio. He reset his portfolio. He started from scratch. And the way he did that was by starting new portfolios. So if you have massive losses in one portfolio, you just open a different one and you start from scratch. Hopefully, it's the market bottom, and it makes you look like a genius, because if you happen to catch the market bottom with that new portfolio, people ignore the old portfolio. They completely forget about it because they're insects, they're bugs, and they only look at the new portfolio. They see those huge percentage gains because they caught the bottom. So Jeremy was bailed out by AI. And of course, the market, I think it was late 2022 or maybe 2023, it went absolutely ballistic. NVIDIA went ballistic. Large cap tech started investing massively in AI. And this narrative developed around, AI being the future, bro. And honestly, it is pretty cool. I mean, I use AI for thumbnails. I use ChatGPT and Grok sometimes to ask questions or find references for sources. It is pretty legit, okay? But the question is it going to generate profits in the future? I mean, yeah, at some point. Is it going to make people more efficient? Yeah, at some point. But I think the market pulled forward a lot of the returns that people and companies are going to see from these AI investments. But there's a critical node in the AI revolution. You want to know what that is? It's called Taiwan Semiconductor. In Taiwan, an island off the coast of China, they make chips. And these chips are powering the AI revolution. So what do you think happens if we go to war with China? Now, why is Taiwan involved, you may ask? Well, I don't know if you knew this, but China had a civil war. They had the nationalists and the communists fighting, okay? And during World War II, the Japanese invaded China. They massacred millions of them. But eventually Japan lost the war. But during the war, the communists and the nationalists came together. And they fought off the Japanese eventually, when the Japanese surrendered. And then, once the war ended, the nationalists and the communists went back at it. And the communists won. The communists won the Chinese Civil War. And where did the nationalists flee? They fled to Taiwan. They fled across the little ocean or strait, and they set up camp in Taiwan. And China, the main country itself, wants to unify the entire nation, okay, under one government. And slowly but surely they've done that. And the last holdout is freaking Taiwan, okay? So China has ambitions to take back Taiwan. And I mean, honestly, who are we to tell them not to? I mean, they're their own people. I mean, I think people of the same ethnicity should live in the same country, okay? So to me, it's common sense. But the problem is that the linchpin of the AI movement is Taiwan Semiconductor. Okay, they make the freaking chips. If this escalates, the AI boom is going to implode like you can't even imagine. NVIDIA will collapse. Crap, it might even go bankrupt. I don't know. But it would get so bad that it would wipe out the stock market almost entirely, or at least the companies that are super involved in the AI revolution. Because without those chips, there's no AI. There's no AI. Where are the chips going to be made? I mean, yeah, sure, we can make plants in the United States, but that's going to take a lot of time. Taiwan Semiconductor is the one that does this. And by Trump doing these escalations, and it's really starting to heat up now. It's actually kind of scary, to be honest. I could see us getting into a hot war. And that circles back to the grifters, okay? These clowns, these frauds that were almost destroyed in 2022, got saved by AI, are now potentially going to be destroyed by the same bubble that saved them. Think about them all. Think about Amit Kukrija and Tom Nash. How did they get their fame? Palantir. Why is Palantir doing so well? Because of massive multiple expansion. What's the narrative behind Palantir? AI. AI, my hot guy. Why did NVIDIA do so well? AI, my hot guy. Why is Tesla doing so well? AI, my hot guy, Optimus Slime. What happens to Tesla if there's a war with China? They have a market in China, and they have one, and I think another factory on the way in China. What happens to Tesla? What happens to Apple, who manufactures, I think, like the vast majority of their frickin' phones, if not all of them, in China? All of these companies that have led the AI revolution are going to get absolutely clapped. And even the companies that like don't have a lot of exposure in China, like for example, Meta, right? I don't even think you can use Facebook in China. I mean, probably not. I would highly doubt that. What do you think happens to Facebook if all the money, all the chips they're buying and all the money they're investing in AI gets a tamper on it? Well, the company's not going to go bankrupt and they're still going to make a F ton of money, right? But part of their narrative is AI, AI, AI. And that's potentially helping the valuation of the stock. Well, with no more chips, guess what? That narrative falls apart, okay? So we could potentially witness, and you know, it may not be this month, it may not be next month, but you're gonna see this accelerating burn towards war with China. And once there's a war with China, I seriously believe, even if we win the war, it will usher in the collapse of the United States. And I think the grifters deep down know this. I think they know they're frauds. They know that they're hiding all of their losses in their portfolio. They know they were on their last ropes in 2021, 2022, 2022, basically during the bear market. And the market rallied and saved them from utter collapse. It was kind of a lame bear market, to be perfectly honest. You know, if we had a bear market, kind of like the Great Recession or the dot-com bubble burst, if they were grifters back then, they would have been gone. They would have been exterminated. They would have been vanished. But they're still here, and they survived because of that weak bear market built on the backs of AI. And there's even a broader, I guess you could call it, metaphysical problem, okay? The other bubble that I believe exists is the American exceptionalism bubble. So not only are the grifters being bailed out by AI, they're also being bailed out by the American exceptionalism bubble, where everybody is falling on their knees and fluffing the power of U.S. stocks, bro. And I've been saying this forever, okay? When everybody is fluffing U.S. stocks, bro, when everybody is claiming they can't drop, when everybody says that international is trash and USA is the only way to go, when everybody's talking about large cap tech, when everybody says America's the only game in town, something isn't right. Something is wrong. When the herd is all in, when foreign capital is flooding into the United States, when every other country in the world sucks apparently, when all you hear is these arrogant American jerk-offs, okay, bragging and thinking they're amazing, it makes you wonder if there's a bubble in U.S. stocks. And the bubble is all about valuations. It's all about valuations. There's nothing wrong with American companies. They're fantastic companies. I don't think American companies are bad, okay? I don't hate U.S. stocks. I have U.S. stocks. But it makes you wonder. Doesn't it make you wonder, okay? Because when everybody thinks it's just so easy, bro, you just buy U.S. stocks and they just give you 10%, compounded over time, bro, and they go up in a 45-degree angle, and it's basically risk-free, just DCA, and it's so easy, bro. It starts to concern me a little bit, okay? So the broader narrative is the U.S. stock bubble. It's had massive the U.S. stock market has crushed, mostly thanks to large tech, okay? Large tech has absolutely blown it out of the water over the last 15 years. And that's great, wonderful, okay? People look at the chart and they say, wow, look at that solid performance and look how the rest of the world sucks. I'm going to put my money in America because look at the past performance. And that simple act, I think in the long run, leads to a bubble. So the grifters, not only are they all in tech, not only are they all in AI, they're all in America. All of them. Okay, find a grifter that's buying international stocks. I'll hold my breath and I'll collapse, okay? So there's this dual-pronged threat. They're all in U.S. stocks because of the performance of large cap tech. Large cap tech has some of the biggest exposure to China, either through manufacturing or chips on Taiwan. U.S. stocks are potentially facing a massive collapse in the long run because of the popping of the American exceptionalism bubble and all the actions that Trump is taking to really diminish America on the world stage. And you have this toxic combination that could absolutely destroy the grifters. Because I'm telling you, if we have a 40% decline in the S&P 500, which is possible, you think that's not possible? Oh, it's possible. The grifters will collapse. They will implode. They will be gone permanently. Eventually, a new crop of grifters will come up, but a 40% decline would be absolutely devastating. I mean, look at We the Khmers, okay? A 10% decline in the stock market made him delete his entire channel. And you don't think these, well, he's back, obviously. You don't think these grifting scum are super leveraged in super high beta stocks and are in massive options positions, okay? I've been hearing rumors, and from certain people, that a lot of grifters are incurring massive losses. I think there's a guy named Chris Patel. I heard he lost $1 million, okay? He's some dude that wears a backwards hat. So cool, bro. And, you know, he was taking these huge concentrated bets in these crap stocks and in options. And that works great for you during a bull market. But when a bear market comes around and you get caught with your pants down, it gets ugly very quickly. So apparently he lost $1 million, okay? If you look at Amit Kukrija, what's that guy doing? I know what he's doing. He's gambling with options. He's all about options, bro. He put his freaking mom's money in Robinhood options. like this is it's crazy, okay? You don't think Amit's getting absolutely crushed right now, but he never shows his portfolio. Kind of clever of a grifter right there. So behind the scenes, I think a lot of these guys are suffering a lot more than you might think. And if it gets bad enough, they can't hide it. They're not going to be able to hide it, okay? Jeremy wasn't able to hide it. Nobody's going to be able to hide it. And the worst thing of all, that's really going to tank the grifters, on top of the U.S. exceptionalism bubble popping, you know, on top of the market declining, the next thing that's really going to hurt them, and the final thing that's really going to put the nail in the coffin, is retail abandoning stocks. Now, you may think I'm crazy, but retail is very, very predictable. They don't think of stocks as long-term investments. They think of stocks as vertical lines. They want to get in a stock, they want it to rocket up, and then they want to get out near the top. And then they want to find a new position, a stock that's tanked, watch it vertical line, and then get out. That's how they think about investing. I disagree with that approach. I think you should buy and hold a total world index your entire life. I think that's how you should properly invest. But a lot of retail doesn't think like that. So when retail starts to suffer losses, right? They buy a stock and it dipped, but it's going to come back. And then the dip keeps dipping. Well, eventually you have this catastrophe where retail gives up on the stock market. You could see the capitulation when the market was down like 20% in 2022. You could see the grifters' views drop off massively. And that was a minor bear market. Could you imagine if there was a war with China and, God help us, they took Taiwan? Boys, you haven't seen anything yet. Oh my God, the catastrophic collapse of valuations. The utter collapse of the U.S. stock market would eviscerate retail. Robinhood stock would collapse. Crypto would collapse. Coinbase would collapse. Large cap tech would collapse. It would all collapse. And retail would flee because they'd keep losing money. They'd lose so much money that they would quit stocks forever. And that is the death knell to the grifter. That is the end of the grifter, okay? So people always say, oh, you're a bear, and oh, you're this and you're that. I'm telling you, there's something deeply sick in the U.S. market. There's something deeply wrong. We've got massive corruption. We've got insane valuations on a bunch of stocks. We've got massive arrogance. We've got this huge American exceptionalism bubble. We've got this worship of absolute con men, clowns. We're accepting cryptocurrency as legitimate. Check this out, by the way. Look at that. This is my new special delight. I make ramen, and then I put chicken in it. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool, huh? But we have all this degeneracy going on in the U.S. stock market. And we have the dumbest people in the world having successful YouTube channels. Something ain't right. It's not good what's going on right now. And I think we're finally at the inflection point. You know, Biden kind of kept the status quo going. You know, everything was kind of, whatever, same old, same old. And then Trump comes in like a wrecking ball. And he's making all these changes to the world. And I think it's going to end absolutely nasty for a lot of retail. And the grifters are quietly panicking because these guys don't have any skills. Damn, that's spicy. Woo! Say what you want about me, but at least I have a real job and I have real skills in the real world. Jeremy was a gas station manager. Kevin was a real estate agent. Graham Stephan was a D student. Amit Kukreja lives with his parents. All these clowns are losers. If we have an extended bear market, they will vanish. They will be cooked. They will lose everything, their mansions, their cars, their status. It will be utter annihilation. And I think it's close. Damn, that's good. Woo! It's very spicy. I like it spicy. I like it hot. All right, let's do some comments here. No, why are you making fun of U.S. stocks, bro? Let's see. Trump is the GOAT. Do not cry, girls. Been sitting on $150K of cash. Now, my advice always is if you have a long time horizon, and I'm talking about decades, it doesn't matter, okay? DCA through your 401k and your IRA. Me personally, I'm not buying stocks right now only because I want enough cash to be able to leave my work. But if I wasn't planning to leave, and I didn't need a cash reserve, yeah, I'd be doing the same thing at 401k. So if you think you can catch the bottom, you don't know when the bottom's going to come. I think it's really nasty. If we actually go to war with China, it's going to get nasty. And you think, let's say stocks drop 20%, right? They could drop 20 or 30% more from there. And you think, oh, it dipped 20%. It's got to be cheap. And then it dips more. You'll panic. So just DCA, bro. It's not hard. The second a dip comes, strongman stops buying. Look, guys, that's just how the cookie crumbles, okay? Yes, is it a great time to be buying if the market continues to collapse? Absolutely, okay? I'm not trying to time the market, but I need cash. I need cash. That's the only reason that I'm piling cash right now. Let's see. What's your favorite emergency fund location? Well, I mean, FDIC insured bank, high yield savings, and I personally like short-term treasuries. I mean, they're yielding 4.25% right now, and they're state tax exempt, and they're pretty safe, okay? Damn, I mean, look at that. Look at that. Look at that meal right there. It's like I went to a Thai restaurant. Maybe I should add some tofu. Woo! It's getting hot. Strongman made a video on Jeremy. If Jeremy wasn't selling programs, he would have been gone a long time ago. Well, duh. You think Jeremy's rich because of his freaking stock investing? Dude, I hope Jeremy collapses, man. We had him, boys. We had him. We were so close. I mean, can you imagine the fear of you giving your family this life? You know, you have a mansion and a car and, you know, you're on top of the world and you're the social media influencer and you're so rich. And then it all comes crumbling around you because you were a fraud all along. I mean, that's got to be a terrifying notion. People don't know about Chinese Communist Revolution. They shouldn't be allowed to vote. Well, I don't think most Americans study China that much, okay? I mean, I had a couple college courses, but honestly, most of it went in one ear and out the other. Let's see. Why are you not selling if you're so bearish? Well, here's the thing, bucko. I believe you buy and hold stocks forever. I'm not joking, okay? Do I think the world is going to end? No. Is it possible? Yes. I don't think the world's going to end. I'm 35 years old. Why do I have to sell my stocks? I don't need them until I'm 65, 70. There's no reason to sell. Because, like, I feel bearish, yes, but I could also be wrong. Maybe there isn't a war with China. Maybe Trump backs down. Maybe the AI revolution vertical lines next year and there's no war and everybody's happy. That's possible. Anything's possible. Do you like a buy, borrow, die in V? No, I'm not borrowing anything. Ever. Just borrow, get your stocks, bro. Bro, VT is 70% US. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Let's see. I wonder if Meat Breath is going to get margin. No, he won't get destroyed. He makes too much money grifting. Let's see. Okay, you got uranium forever here. Bro, just buy index funds that buy stocks at any price and blow huge passive investing bubbles, bro. Efficient markets, bro. I'm not even getting into that right now. You know, you can give me a sponsored video and I'll address your comment. Anyway, I'm going to finish my meal. Just know that the grifters are quietly panicking right now. They're terrified. I'm telling you, they'll put on a brave face, but they are terrified. And if Strongman gets his victory, if Strongman gets a bubble pop, a real collapse, I am launching a holy war against everybody that shilled U.S. stocks only, against every stock picking grifter. I'm coming for you all, and you better be crapping your little pants because I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all. Okay? Unless I get sent to the front lines, that's a different story. But but when it comes to investing, I'm not worried at all. I haven't sold a single share of VT, and I never will. Talk to you later.